Okay, hello everyone. My name is Luciano Ciattaglia. Please don't worry, I am not going to steal a lot of time from you here. It's only 20 minutes presentation today. I am here to talk about forensics monitoring and analysis in blockchains. And when I am talking about blockchains here, I am not trying to be generic. I am actually talking about layer ones. So to start, first of all, as I introduce myself, I am working in Hacken. I am the director of services. I am going to skip the presentation of Hacken for you because you already saw my partner before, that he already did the presentations of the company to you, so that's it. I previously worked at Binance, Ripio, and Mercado Libre, and yeah, a couple of certifications, and that's it. I am going to skip the presentation of Hacken. Again, it was already done before. And this is the agenda for today. And as you see, it's pretty short, actually. The introduction to incident response, this is pretty generic because it's the same in any organization, regardless if it is Web2, Web3, or whatever. It's almost pretty much the same everywhere. Detection and analysis, here I am going to talk about in protocols directly. Containment, eradication, and recoveries, they are the normal stage of incident response in any organization. And finally, forensics in blockchain, or at least what we can try to do regarding that. First of all, the introduction of incident response. Again, this introduction is pretty much the same in any organization, regardless if it is Web2 or Web3. It's always the same. If we have a security breach, it's to try to contain or to limit the damage that the incident is going to cause to our organization, and to try to go back to normal as soon as possible. Again, I can talk about any kind of organization that is not necessarily blockchain or Web3, and it's going to be exactly the same description. So at least until here, everything is the same in any organization. Nothing new for anyone that has knowledge in security. Now, detection and analysis. You're going to see a lot of text here. And actually, the most funny thing is that I try to highlight only some things. Not everything is here. So this is some of the highlights that we can have, again, not in a smart contract, but in a protocol, in a layer 1, layer 2, whenever something is going wrong, or is going really wrong, or it's already an attack happening, or just a weird thing. So first of all, abnormal transactions count. If you know the blocks, I can talk about Ethereum, Bitcoin. There are a lot of layer 1s. Every day there are even new layer 1s, layer 0s, and layer 2. All of them, they have different block size. So within a block size, let's say 1 megabyte, for example, in Bitcoin, we can fit a lot of transactions there, but not all of them are transactions, or the same amount of transactions in every block. So whenever we have actually a lot of transactions within a single block, that can be something weird, because it's like, it's still tight, it's still limited to 1 megabyte, the block, or whatever the consensus or the protocol is defining. But if something is not normal, actually, in the amount of transactions that there are in a single block, actually that block can have something to do with something not ethical, let's call, or actually an attack. So that's one of the things. Blockchain, the block metadata. Block metadata, someone knows what the block metadata is, like the headers? One header? Yeah, one example?
In Bitcoin, it's necessary for the Merkle root to be able to actually...
Yeah. Exactly. The Merkle root actually is one of the things that we have in the metadata, specifically in the block header. But if we change the Merkle root, actually, we are going to have consequences because the block probably is going not to be included in the protocol. But there are other things that we can play around. For example, the nonce and the timestamp. We can play with those things, and no one is going to penalize us as nodes. So actually, if we see a block that contains something weird actually in the nonce or in the timestamp that it shouldn't actually be included in the blockchain itself, that can be actually an indicator that something is going very wrong actually with that protocol. Again, I am focusing here about protocols because we can check all the smart contracts, but if the protocol itself gets hacked, all the smart contracts in there are going to have the same fate. So here actually is why I'm trying to focus principally on what's below actually the smart contracts and what can go really wrong there. High transaction fees, well, this is pretty normal, of course. If I am stealing money, I am going to want my money to be removed from where I am stealing it as fast as possible. And in order to do that, I am willing to pay a lot of fees, high fees, so my transactions to steal the funds are getting processed faster or first. So high transaction fees can be that. I am talking about, again, an attack, because, for example, in Bitcoin halving, A lot of people actually paid a lot of fees actually to include in the block of the halving. But again, I am talking about something that is not normal in these cases. Decreasing mining power, and this is pretty funny actually, because it implies to, if you want to do a 51% attack, in most of the protocols, what you think is that you need to gain more mining power, and always like buy more resources and gain more resources in order to take the entire protocol. But another strategy there, it can be to take down the competency. If you find a vulnerability in a protocol that actually can crash a node, you can start crashing different nodes and gaining power, mining power, but actually taking down other nodes until only few nodes remains. Yours is one of those, and you can take up the entire protocol without even spending money for that. So if we have a really decreased mining power in a short period of time, that's probably like almost 100% an indicator of an attack in that protocol is happening. Strained transaction structure, I am going to be brief here. I mentioned that in the block headers, we can modify a lot of things and we are going to be penalized. Well, in the transaction, actually, we are not going to be penalized. So we can play with the transactions, the size of the transaction. There are a lot of things that we can manipulate in transactions. The addresses, the signatures, the timestamp as well, and even the same size. If we have a transaction with a size bigger than the block itself, that's probably going to create a crash, unless the protocol is secure and they validate actually these kind of things. But if not, it's going to create a crash. So any transactions that are weird and they are included in the protocol, that can also be an indicator. High transaction volume, really similar actually to our normal transaction count. When we have a lot of transactions, of course, this can be because of the market thing or a lot of things, but it can also be an indicator of an attack. Repeater post-validator, this actually affects Ethereum. Well, this is pretty, of course. If the same validator is selected in a row, like 2, 3, 4 times in a row, that's pretty not common, right? Because it should be random, the validator that is selected to mine the next block. So if we have the same validator in a row, that's probably something is going really wrong. And the exchange and the DeFi activity, again, this can be a market thing, but it can be also an indicator of an attack. If there are a lot of movement, it can be that someone is stealing money and try to take it from there. And the components to take a look at: nodes, EVM, chain, transaction, mempool, mining, the mining power itself. All of these components are part of any layer 1. Well, the EVM not actually, but most of them are part of any layer 1, and anything that is wrong with these components, it can be an indicator that something of these things are happening. So again, if we detect something irregular here without being paranoid, probably that's something that is going really wrong with the layer 1 itself where we are operating, or layer 2, or layer 0 itself. Some tools that we can use actually to monitor this activity that I mentioned, there are the anti-money laundering, the AML tools. They are pretty normal. Chainalysis, probably some of you already used it, Elliptic. And there are some tools in Hacken that it's a pattern recognition engine. We already mentioned this before. This is focused more in smart contracts actually, more than layer 1. But that's actually one of the tools. And what it has extractor here, it's like they include actually the fault attack detector. They have the different monitoring triggers that one can customize depending on the needs. And you can also do a lot of things depending on what's going on with your, again, smart contracts, not layer 1 in here. Containment, eradication, and recovery. Okay, first of all, once the money is stolen, that's it. I mean, if we have a transaction, the integrity of the blockchain. If someone takes the money from my wallet, for example, and I want to take it back, I cannot contact Bitcoin and tell them, yeah, I got a hack, please take my money back. They are not going to do that. So, of course, that once the attack itself has been performed and the phones were stolen, most of the things that we can do here is try to recover as much as we can. Actually, I had this experience in Binance. In Binance, we lost $600 million. And it was on a weekend, of course, because attackers are going to make the entire security team wake up early on a weekend to work the entire weekend to try to recover the money. We lost $600 million in 2 hours, more or less. And what we could do there, the coins that they stole, they weren't actually coins from Binance itself. They mined these BNB's coins. They take them outside the BNB chain, and the total amount of money there was huge. What we did, and probably if you read the media at that time, we hold the entire blockchain, the BNB chain. We hold it entirely. We hold like 50 nodes, and we hold all of them to try to recover the money. We could recover 500 millions, actually, at that time. It was a lot of money, but we still lost 100 million. So most of the things that we can do here is not to try to recover all the money, but actually to try to recover some of it. In our case, actually, we could recover a lot of money, but we still lost $100 million. That is, well, it's not, it's a big amount when you think about it like separated from the total amount. The things that we can do, this is for smart contracts, actually. Pausable transactions, this is, again, a functionality in smart contracts we can have. The stable coins like USDT, USDC, they have bans or a blacklist of wallets. So if we know the addresses already, the wallets that contains the stolen funds, we can try to freeze them if they are stealing in stable coins. Warrant exchanges, of course, they can pay attention to us or not, but we can tell an exchange, Binance, for example, that there was a hack here, and if the attackers are trying to take out the money from the blockchain through Binance or through a centralized exchange, they can actually help us to try to recover the money before they take it out. Stop validators in poor blockchains. Okay, this should be mostly from proof of authority, but we also did it in BNB chain. But that's, of course, if it is a possibility, it's something that is going to help stop the entire blockchain. And the attackers cannot move the money any further, so try to recover the money from there. Network segmentations, this actually, if we detect that we have malicious nodes, that they are taking down other nodes, we can try to segregate them and exclude them from the blockchain, and that's going to help actually if the nodes are behaving weirdly actually, and the nodes are the responsibles of the attacks. The smart contract freezing, pretty similar to the pausable transactions. Again, is to freeze the entire smart contract to preserve further transactions. Real-time alerts. Well, the alerts, I mean, it's like an alarm in your house. It's like the best that an alert is going to tell you is like, hey, you are getting hacked. And that you need to react and do all the work yourself, of course, but at least it's something. And finally, the forks and chain reorganizations. This can be also a signature of an attack. But we can use it on our advantage. And if we see that an attack happened, we can try to take it back by making a fork. Of course, this attempts to the integrity of the blockchain, right, and the decentralization. But whenever it's possible, it's possible. I think in Ethereum, actually, this happened once. For the DAO attack. So it's something that it can be possible, but it shouldn't be normal. Finally, blockchain forensics. The anonymity right now in protocols, I am talking here about Ethereum, remains in three main assumptions that we do. The first assumption that we have when we are using blockchain is that the addresses, our addresses of our wallet, cannot be mapped directly to an identity, to a person, I mean. So if I show you a random wallet address, you don't know if that address is mine or whoever that address is. So that's the first assumption. The second assumption is that the transactions do not contain any personal information. Of course, they can, but usually they don't contain any personal information. And finally, that the blockchain itself doesn't know our IP, that it can be hidden, our IP as well, through VPNs or different things. But actually, no one knows our IP, so no one can relate our IP to us or track us down. Again, every time that we do a transaction. So those are the assumptions. And here are the real things that actually we can do to try to de-anonymize a person in the protocol. There are a lot of pain points that I am going to talk about, but actually these are some things that we can try. Real name authentication. This is a pretty silly mistake. If you are attacking a huge blockchain and stealing $100 million or more, I hope that the person at least knows that centralized exchanges, they use KYC. And of course, that as they use KYC, they know who you are. And you are not going to try to steal the money through a centralized exchange because they know who you are. So they can track you down, actually, and well, you are going to end up pretty much in jail. So real name authentication. If I am stealing the funds for a native coin, any native coin or any layer one, and I am going to move that money to a centralized exchange, the exchange is going to know who I am because I had to do KYC in a centralized exchange. Public exposure, again, this is really silly, but imagine that in Twitter, you publish that you receive donations with your Twitter user to a certain address. It's there in Twitter. And you use, later on, you do a hack and you use this address to take the money out. Well, of course, that you are going to, if anyone actually finds this tweet, it's going to relate your Twitter username with you. So again, this is all these silly mistakes. It can seem that they don't really happen, but actually they happen more than I would wish. So actually, all these silly mistakes, they are pretty normal when an attacker is not very careful on what they are doing. Transparency and traceability. Through the explorers, actually, everything is transparent. So we can track down, actually, an address and where they are moving the money. So that's not going to tell us exactly who the person is, but it's going to help us to relate addresses and different things from the attackers. And finally, the transaction clustering. Again, it's regarding gathering information about it's raining a lot outside. I arrived to Prague here. It's my first time here. And at the morning, actually, it was sunny. Now it's raining. Afterward, I am sure that it's going to be sunny. The weather here is crazy. So the transaction clustering, actually, again, it's like trying to gather information from different addresses. For example, if I have two addresses, a cold wallet and an exchange, and I move my funds from there, go and forth, a person actually can relate that this address from the exchange and this cold wallet is the same person, it's me. So that's actually a relation that we can do. And there are some attacks that we can also do, that, for example, DAS attacks. Probably most of us here receive DAS attacks and never notice it. It's when you receive randomly a really tiny amount of a coin, like, I don't know, cents of a coin. It can be USDT or any coin. Actually, this tiny amount of coins, a person is sending them to you to try to track your money. So whenever you are moving your entire money in their wallet, your entire assets, this dust, these cents are going to be moved as well. And they can track down actually all your movements because of this. So that's a dust attack. Civil attacks, timing analysis, insertion attacks, and heuristic analysis. All of these are attacks that an attacker can do for something illegal, or actually it can be an attack to try to anonymize a user because they are actually behaving maliciously. And these are the pain points. Why it's not easy actually to de-anonymize a user right now in protocols? First of all, the centralized the DeFis. Well, of course, the DeFis, there is no KYC there. So if someone is removing money from there, we're not going to track it down easily, at least. Peel chain, this is if. So I told you that in Binance they stole $600 million. You may think that they move all those BNBs together. Well, of course they didn't. So they actually split these BNBs in 0.5 BNB each, and they started moving it through hundreds of addresses. So it was a really pain actually to track down all these addresses and the movement of all these addresses to try to recover the money without involving actually innocent people that they actually received BNB and actually they weren't part of the attack. So that's actually another thing that can help. Chain hopping, I mean, if we are in BNB and we move the assets to Ethereum or any other blockchain, that's going to create a pain point through bridges or through anything else. It's going to be really hard actually to continue tracking down the money. More actually, if they are moving it to a CK protocol or Monero, Zcash, for example, there they have a lot of anonymity, so it's not easy to identify the user further once they move the funds there. Mixing services, I suppose that most of us here know what the mixing services is. A lot of people end up jail actually because of creating them. Privacy coins, again, as I mentioned, Monero and Zcash, it's really hard actually to track down this and try to know who is behind the addresses in these protocols. Obfuscate the smart contracts, off-chain transactions. Off-chain transactions, pretty obvious. I mean, if I go and do something off-chains without moving the money, but they receive money like fiat money from someone else actually, and then I do the movements, everything that happens off-chain, we cannot know what's going on there. So anything that happens off-chain, we don't have any visual when we're trying to track down the attackers. Multiple wallets, again, part of the Peel chain, and cross-border transactions. All those are pain points. So actually that helps a lot if an attacker knows what they are doing to try to hide their real identity. I mentioned to you 600 million, and we recovered $500 million in Binance. We offer to anyone that could identify the hacker 10% of the total money of the hack. It was more than $50 million. So we offer that to everyone. Anyone that could give us any information regarding who the attacker were, we will give in to pay them $50 million. No one gave us any information, and we announced it like several times. So imagine actually that not even the money is an easy motivator to try to track down a person if the attacker knows what they are doing actually. So that's it. I am Luciano Ciattaglia. Thank you. Any questions? There? Okay. Wait a sec.
Hi. I wanted to ask you, how do we thread the needle when it comes to the bad actors in the space and the ability for us as a crypto users to remain anonymous to some point? Because the anonymity is one of the things I like, and I like to buy my crypto, do whatever I want with it without doing anything like illicit, but I want to still remain anonymous, and I know there are the bad actors. So how do we do it in the space so we can still remain anonymous and get rid of as much as possible of the bad actors?
Of course. First of all, actually try to use a protocol that the anonymity is a focus key of the protocol. I am talking about Monero Zcash. Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous, let's say. It's not fully anonymous. So whenever you are using Bitcoin or actually Ethereum, you need to know that it's pseudo-anonymity what you have. But actually a node, whenever you are trying to include a transaction, they know your IP address. And I am not going to suggest you to be fully paranoid and use a VPN or something actually every time that you are going to connect a node, so the node can you track, because it's like the paranoia could go sky high if you want actually to remain anonymous. But what I recommend it's to simply actually use a protocol that anonymity is focus key of the protocol itself. Again, Monero, Zcash, there are even more. The ones that are using CK, of course, all of them. So that's the easier thing. And it's important that that remains in time, because if you're anonymous here right now, no one knows that this address is yours. But from now in 5 years, you are going to publish that address somewhere. Well, actually, you are breaking your own anonymity yourself. Remember that anything that you put in the blockchain is going to remain there forever. And this is something scary sometimes, because you can create a transaction, put a text there or something that, for example, now, 2024 is totally legal, but in 20 years probably it's not, because, well, the legal things are changing all the time. And it's going to remain there for 20 years or so on. So you never know actually what's going to happen. So my recommendation is, use protocols that they care about the anonymity, and remember that anything that you do in the blockchain is going to remain there forever. So if you are going to be anonymous forever. Then never lose it. So that's it. Any other question?
As for blacklisted wallets,
yes.
What's the difficulty to just create a new wallet and suddenly you're like whitelisted?
None. I mean, when they have a blacklist wallet, actually the idea is like you stole 1 million USDT and you move them to a certain wallet. While they are they are in that wallet, then they freeze the money there in that wallet. So whenever you create another wallet, you cannot move it down because it's already on the blacklist. So you cannot move the money there. The idea there is to try to freeze the assets within one wallet. So yeah, you can create other wallets, but once you are blacklisted, the wallet that is going to be blacklisted is the one that has the asset at that exact moment. So you cannot move the asset further. So that's it, you lost it once you are blacklisted.
Who controls this list or database?
USDT, the organization behind USDT, USDC, the organization, I think is the organization because, yeah, Circle, different, depending on the asset that you are using, the coin that you are using.
So it's kind of voluntarily. There is no cross-organization, cross-industry.
Depending, again, on the coin that you are using. USDT and USDC, yeah, they are kind of centralized, but there are others that are more decentralized. And you need to reach a consensus to make a blacklist. But whenever that consensus reaches, you lose so much time that the money was already moved, so it's totally inefficient sometimes. Whenever you need to do a blacklist, it should be, I mean, you need to do it instantly possible because you need to freeze the assets there. So yeah, it's the blockchain trilemma, you know, security, decentrability, and scalability. You're putting too much in security by losing the other two. Yes.
Thank you. For the dust attack to work, why do I need to send like small funds? Can't I track the funds in your wallet like already?
Yeah, the dust attack, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I thought the same the first time that I see the dust attack. Why I need to send money if actually I can just track the money? Well, that's you see that when you are actually doing the real forensic job, because it's like, as I mentioned, imagine that the phones you move them to one wallet to the other, and you need to start doing a graph across all the wallets included in the attack. When they start slipping the amounts of money, or they start moving the amounts of money differently, not the entire amount of money, but differently, and you try to still track down the transaction, over time it's become blurry. I mean, you have a lot of addresses, and you are not sure whenever the real stolen assets are there, or they are legit assets mixed together to the stolen assets. So everything goes blurry after like 3 or 4 transactions when you are trying to track the data. By doing a dust attack, you are sure that the money that you sent to the stolen address was moved and where was moved, and you know certainly that all those addresses that your dust was moved was part of the attacker. So that's actually, it's to simplify the work of forensics. You can still do it actually without the dust attack. It's just to simplify it. So that's it.
Okay, but for Ethereum, like the dust is not, I cannot see like these.
You're going to split it. Yeah, there are mechanisms actually for the dust. When you are moving your funds, you can see the dust. It's like the cents that you move whenever you move a transaction. But you see those cents when you're moving the entire amount of money that you have there. You just move like 2 Ethereum, yeah, you're going to lose track as well of the dust over time. So it's the same. There are also some wallets, they have mechanisms actually until dust attack, that when you're moving even your entire assets, they are not going to move the cents. So yeah, it can help depending on the attacker if they are careful or not, actually. But if they are not careful, it helps a lot to you to track down the real money and the real move of money across the different addresses. Again, it's to simplify the job.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Again, thank you.